All right, let's talk about one of those tricky tenses in English that can be a real headache, the present perfect continuous. If you've ever felt a little confused by it, trust me, you are not alone. Let's clear it up together. So this is the classic question, right? I have worked or I have been working. They seem so similar, but that little phrase been working totally changes the feel of the sentence. By the end of this little explainer, you're going to know exactly which one to use and more importantly, why. And hey, don't worry, we're going to do this fast. The goal here is to give you the tools to use this tense and feel confident about it. We'll start with how to build it, then get into the why, and finally clear up those common mix-ups. Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. Before we can use it, we've got to know how to actually build it, right? And luckily, it's like a simple recipe with just a few ingredients. It's really just a simple four-part structure. You start with your subject, I, you, he, she. Then you add either have or has. Next up is the magic word been. You always need been. And you finish it off with a verb that ends in ing. That's it. Subject, have or has, been, and the ing verb. That's the whole formula. So what does this look like in a real sentence? Well, for a positive statement, you might say, she's been coming to work late recently. And notice how we almost always shorten she has to she's when we're speaking. For a negative, it's just as easy. I haven't been sleeping well lately, where haven't is just our quick, natural way of saying have not. Okay, so we've got the how. That's the easy part. The real question, the important one, is why and when do you actually use this thing? This is where this tense really starts to show its power. And here it is, the main idea. You use this tense to talk about an unfinished action. It's for something that started sometime in the past, but is still going on right up to this very moment. This timeline here makes it so clear. See that? The action kicks off in the past. It keeps going, and it's still happening right now. And that little arrow pointing to the future, that's key. It suggests the action might just keep on going. It's all about that continuing journey. Which brings us to the main event, the big showdown. The simple present perfect versus the present perfect continuous. This is probably why you're here, so let's finally clear up all the confusion. The difference really just boils down to one thing. What are you trying to focus on? With the continuous tense on the left, your focus is on the duration of an action that's still in progress. But with the simple tense on the right, you're usually talking about a finished life experience, where the exact time it happened doesn't really matter. Let's look at some examples side by side. It makes it so obvious. If you say, I've been walking for an hour, you're emphasizing that the walking is still happening and has been going on for a while. But if you say, I've walked around my neighborhood before, that's just a fact about your past. One is about the process, the other is about the result. But now for a really great tip, a little exception to the rule that makes life easier. With a couple of common verbs like live and work, that distinction pretty much disappears. You can say, I've worked here for 5 years, or I've been working here for 5 years, and honestly, they mean the exact same thing. So that's one less thing to worry about. All right, so we've got the basics down, but what if you want to add more detail, be more specific about the timing? That's where two tiny but powerful words come into play, for and since. So how do you know which one to use? And honestly, it's super simple when you see it laid out like this. You use for when you're talking about a period of time, a duration, like 3 days, 2 weeks, 6 years. And you use since when you're talking about a specific point in time, when the action started, like 8 a.m., or last Tuesday, or back in 2019. For measures the length, since marks the start. Okay, we're almost there. We know how to build a tense. We know when to use it. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. How do you ask questions with it? So, if you want to ask for some information, you just kind of flip the structure around. You start with a question word, like what or how long. Then comes have or has, then your subject, and finally our old friend's been, plus the ing verb. The classic example is, what have you been doing lately? It's a perfect, natural way to catch up with someone. And what if you just want a simple yes or no answer? It gets even easier. Seriously, all you have to do is start the sentence with have or has. For instance, have you been waiting long? It's a great way to check if something you suspect has been happening is actually true. And that's it. You've got all the rules. We've walked through the formula, the core idea behind it, and how to ask questions. Now that you have the tools, I'm curious. So what have you been learning lately? Thanks for tuning in.